Hey, it's Jonathan, and the question is, what do you mean by specs in a bid? So in other videos, I've talked about bidding and bid specs and pricing. And so the question is, what do you mean by the specs in the bid? So generally, this is more something you'll encounter on the commercial side. So there's some different terms like the bid sheet, the spec sheet, the request for proposal, sometimes called RFP. There's different things like that. Basically, what it generally is it's a list of the requirements for bidding the property, be it maintenance or landscape or install or construction, something like that. So the spec sheet would say, what they might give you is they might give you a sheet and it says, we're going to need you to mow the lawn 32 times this year. We're going to need 5 fertilization weed control treatments. We're going to need bush trimming 6 times a year on these months. We're going to need so on and so forth. They're going to tell you what they want. Or they may say, we're going to want mowing 28 times a year, but only 14 times a year we want the concrete areas edged. So they're going to lay out what they want. It's basically a document that they've drawn up that probably based on previous experience with other companies and what those companies did for them. And they're calling in a number of companies to bid, and they're giving them the spec. Here's, you bid to this spec. Here's what you bid. And so the spec sheet is the things that they want you to include in your bid. They don't want from you a bid for 40 mowings. They want a bid for 32. They tell you, I want 32 mowings. This is when I want them. We're going to want 2 color changes a year. This is what we want. This is when we want them. Things like that. Now, my experience in the commercial market is it's not uncommon for you to disagree with the spec, or sometimes the spec is unrealistic. Homeowners associations, sometimes I've seen that, they're just giving us a spec from somebody else, and there may be a reason why the company they have now, they're dissatisfied. They may have bid to mow 28 times a year and it needs 34, or they may have bid to only have 1 fertilization a year and they need 2, or they had bid to do 1 irrigation inspection once a year and they really need them once a quarter or monthly due to the size and the water volume used on the property. So it's not uncommon where we'll see problems with the spec sheet, but basically bid to spec is bidding exactly what they've asked for of you. If you're doing a construction or an install project, then a lot of times they'll lay out and they'll say this is what we need here and there in certain areas. Now, in that case, it's not uncommon that they're looking for a design and recommendations, but sometimes they know. Builders know, subdivisions that are being built out, they know we want this many trees because they know the linear footage of an area. So let's say along the street, they know that that is 700 linear feet, 700 feet on the frontage road of a street, and they know they want a tree placed about every 30 feet. Then they have an approximate idea of how many trees they want, and that might be part of the spec. We want X number of trees. We want X number of flower beds, X number of bushes in each flower bed. Things like that. So that would be the spec. The spec is what do they want you to deliver to them, and that's what they're asking to be bid. Quick side note, I know you didn't ask it. I highly recommend you bid what's in the bid sheet and not try to bid otherwise. You might now tell them or submit a separate bid or submit an add-on to tell them about the other things they need. But in this incredibly competitive market right now, not bidding to spec can often lose you the deal. So if you feel the bid spec's wrong, bid to spec and then actually deliver that service. But at the same time, I would put in writing the recommendation of what's really needed. You'll get it sometimes, other times you won't. But by having made that second proposal, if they're ever disappointed with the service, you've got something you can come back with and point to and say, hey, we bid to spec. You asked for 28 mowings. We said we bid 28, but we also proposed an extra 5 because the dissatisfaction you had with the previous company, we believe, was in part because the job was underbid. Underbid meaning they were not delivering enough level of service, enough frequency, whatever the case may be. So we proposed some additional work, and you chose not to take it. Had you taken it, I guarantee you would have been satisfied with our company. And so my point being that the spec is something that you really want to follow and pay attention to, and that's what it is. It's a detailed list of what they want you to bid, what they want from you, what they want performed, and what they want to know the cost numbers for, so they can go back to whoever it is that's making the decision on who they're going to choose for a company.